Hello again, Commanders, and welcome back to my series on the history of Griffin and Kryuger, Part 2. In this part, we will be covering the founding fathers of G&K, Griffin Lyons and Berezovich Kryuger. I will be coming back to these two men in each of their own dedicated videos in the future, however. But for now, I will be giving a short history and summary of their role before and after the founding of the PMC, beginning with Griffin Lyons. As you may have noticed, I have previously mentioned Griffin Lyons and his involvement with and the partner contributions to the G&K PMC. I have also remarked on his connections with rosterism, although without going much into detail. Well, now is the time for said detail. For now, we come to the notable members of Griffin and Kryuger, starting with the first namesake of Griffin and Kryuger, Griffin Lyons himself. Griffin Lyons is a rosterist agent active in the European Secret Service community and co-founder of Griffin and Kryuger alongside Berezovich Kryuger. Now, what is rosterism, you may be asking? Well, for now, I shall give you the short answer, as we will be exploring them in the future. Rosterism is a school of political thought developed by Rader Roster. The core idea of rosterism is that mankind's survival can only be ensured by the establishment of a world government to promote global cooperation. Mr. Griffin was a believer in the rosterist ideology, albeit more realistically, and later a member of the Prometheus Council. In order to achieve their ideology's ultimate goal, the council members have obtained positions of power and influence throughout Europe, legitimately or otherwise. Mr. Griffin was not always a Promethean Council member and had previously served as a British intelligence agent prior to his recruitment by Major General Isaac of the CIA. Due to the connections he made in his time with British intelligence, Griffin was able to quickly rise to prominence within the rosterist movement, and by the events of the fireworks incident on German Unity Day, was able to obtain a seat on the Prometheus Council. From there, he would influence the actions of his various contacts and associates in hopes to achieve the rosterist goal. Going back to 2052, however, Griffin met with Kryuger with a proposal that he knew Kryuger would not pass up. What he offered was a partnership to create a PMC using doll robots. Griffin had the funding from then unknown investors, the rosterists, and Kryuger had the connections to the Ministry of Defense to obtain government contracts, making for near perfect starting circumstances. Under Griffin's terms, Kryuger gained full authority over their company on the condition that he use tactical dolls provided by I.O.P, another contact, and a rosterist supporter unbeknownst to Kryuger for the company. By using I.O.P's T-dolls, specifically the more human appearance female dolls, G&K would lead to a more positive public perception of dolls. This, of course, would help achieve the rosterist goal by normalizing doll technology for the purpose of protecting mankind. Griffin then provided Kryuger with the down payment and official partnership contract during their meeting. All Kryuger needed to do was resign from his ministry position and sign the contract to begin. The establishment of G&K and partnership with I.O.P would also allow Kryuger to work closely with his friend and the scientist Persica, as revealed by Griffin when Kryuger asked why he was chosen for such an endeavor. There is much about Griffin Lyons yet discovered or discussed, and time will only tell what part to play he will have in the future. However, now we must discuss the acting owner and supreme commander of Griffin and Kryuger, Berezovich Kryuger himself. Berezovich Berezovich Kryuger is a veteran military officer having served during World War III, later serving as a commander of the Ministry of Internal Affairs, or NVD, of the Neo-Soviet Union, before retiring and becoming the co-founder and current CEO of Griffin Kryuger. During his time in the military, Kryuger had served under KCCO Brigadier General Carter Neustadt. Kryuger served as a company commander and captain. The then Captain Berezovich Kryuger had been serving in North Africa for much of his service during the war. While in North Africa, Kryuger was involved in the defense of Tripoli from NATO forces. On December 12th, Kryuger's company was fighting out of the base camp west of Tripoli. One of the men on his base was named Commissar Pablo, who supplied Kryuger with information from the front lines. The commissar informed Kryuger later that certain people thought highly of his leadership skills. It had been revealed that someone known as the Old Man had sent Pablo to ask Kryuger if he was interested in transferring to Alpha Group. After leaving the military, Kryuger would work for the NVD as a tactical commander for various operations, most notably the operation in 2050 to rescue and escort scientists Lycurus and Persicaria, the latter of which he would become close friends with. While in the NVD, Kryuger would also establish a professional relationship with the Minister of Internal Affairs and Chief of the Bureau of State Security, or simply StateSec, Viktor Pavlovich Zelensky. Kryuger would also maintain connections with I.O.P's CEO, Javier Witkin, while in the NVD that would carry over into a lasting agreement with the company to provide T-dolls for the future Griffin Kryuger PMC, albeit by Griffin's recommendation. It was Javier Witkin who had paid Kryuger to rescue the scientists and subsequently started their lasting relationship. Eventually, Kryuger would also establish operational relations with StateSec agent Anna Viktorovna Tosi, or simply Angela, in her missions with the Griffin Kryuger PMC by the start of the events of the Sangvi's Ferry Rebellion. As previously explained in the section concerning Griffin Lyons, Kryuger would eventually co-found the company Griffin Kryuger in 2052 alongside Griffin Lyons and serve as its CEO. Kryuger, having witnessed so many deaths during his military career and wanting to dedicate his retirement to less destructive purposes, agreed to the co-founding of G&K with Griffin in order to protect the populations with no government protection. While G&K's forces were initially made up of human soldiers, eventually, with his connections to I.O.P, dolls would become the primary fighting force of the company, sparing not only human lives, but money as well. While Griffin's relationship with I.O.P's CEO Witkin did have a hiccup due to Kryuger's aid in Lycurus' defection to Sangvi's Ferry, they would maintain positive relations well into the present. Kryuger is also revealed to be keenly aware of the political game between KCCO and StateSec, maintaining a steady balance in the company's relationships with the two prior to KCCO's ultimate betrayal of the PMC during their joint operation against Sangvi's Ferry. As a person, Berezovich Kryuger is considered stern but caring, especially in regards to those under his command. Kryuger is trusted greatly by his subordinates, dolls and human alike, with many expressing that they would give their lives for him, namely his second-in-command, Helianthus. However, as Kryuger values both human and doll lives, he always pushes back, urging them to value their lives and to be more than just his subordinates. This is especially exemplified in his relationship with the commander, as well as Helianthus, and even many T-dolls. Kryuger, of course, does not mince words or hide the truth when the situation demands it, however, but nor does he give up hope, and because of his truthful but hopeful attitude, he is well respected by his subordinates, as well as his friends and partners. Currently, Kryuger maintains his status as CEO of G&K into the present, and despite the events of the recent fireworks incident in 2062 on German Unity Day. Griffin Lyons and Berezovich Kryuger are the two most important people that you must know whilst in service to the Griffin Kryuger PMC. Griffin is a man who seeks great change in the world, and a highly influential one even outside of G&K. While Griffin generally does not play a hands-on role in what G&K does, he is undoubtedly an important part of its function, and possibly its future. Berezovich Kryuger is a man who, much like Griffin, seeks great change in the world too, but with a different approach. Berezovich Kryuger takes a hands-on approach to bringing about the change of the world, and earns the respect and trust of many around them as a result. G&K would certainly not have made it as far as it has without the leadership of Berezovich Kryuger. With that, we come to the end of part 2 of the history of Griffin Kryuger. In the next part, we will be covering a few other important members of the PMC. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and share it with your friends. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below. And of course, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. This has been Overseer of the Overseer's Logs. I hope you have a good day and stay safe in the wasteland.